Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the weekly current affairs session for environment, science and technology and some parts of geography. Today we do not have any news from geography point of view, so we are keeping it to just environment and science and technology for this day. I'm Surbhi Sardana and we will be covering the weekly current affairs from November 16 to November 23 for these two subjects. Let's see what is the index that we have for today, what are the topics that we will be taking today. The first topic is Climate Change Performance Index. The second would be Loss and Damage Fund. The third is launch of India's first private rocket or space vehicle, that is Vikrams S. The fourth one is Artemis 1, and since we are talking about Artemis 1 and a lot of moon missions have been launched and planned by various countries, we'll also be looking at the importance of moon because that is important for your mains as well as prelims point of view. So let's move on to the first topic, but before that let me remind you that this weekly current affairs is running in parallel with our website, which is rajisacademy.com. Also, through this session, for example, here we have 5 topics. Out of these topics, this topic, the fifth one, has been taken in detail and a question has been framed for your mains daily answer writing practice. We are running an initiative called Seize the Mains on our YouTube channel from Monday to Saturday, that is being taken by me. Every day we discuss one question from current affairs and we tell you that how to build a model answer around it, how to build a good answer for it, how to write a good creative answer which can fetch you more and more marks in mains so that you make it to the final list in your first attempt or at the earliest possible. So the question for today, this is also uploaded on our website. The question is, looking at space exploration missions of various space agencies, a significant moon rush has been witnessed in the past decade and continues to grow even further. What importance does the moon hold for mankind? Answer in 150 words. So this appears to be a long question, but the answer has to be very short, just in 150 words, क्योंकि जो question वाला part है वो बहुत ही छोटा है. If just go to the website, check out this question, check out the model answer, and do watch Seize the Mains for this questions answer at 9 PM on our YouTube channel today. You can also refer to that playlist for more and more questions and answers. By that time, by tomorrow or day after maximum, try to post your answer to this. Try to write a model answer and post it on our website. Our team evaluates your answers entirely free of cost in the next 48 hours. So yes, let's move on to the first topic for the day, the Climate Change Performance Index of 2023. First of all, let's see who launches this index. So there is a NGO called German Watch. It is an NGO which is based in Bonn, Germany, as you can see. It is a scoring system. जो climate change performance index है, एक scoring system है बहुत सारी countries के लिए, and it is released by German Watch. Now, what is the purpose of this index? ये index का काम क्या है? See, बहुत सारी countries हैं जो कि fossil fuels use करती हैं अपनी energy needs meet करने के लिए. For example, to give fuel to their vehicles, to run their vehicles, to run their industries, to produce electricity. So बहुत सारी ऐसी countries हैं. उन countries की एक list है and they call the list of 63 countries plus the European Union. So 63 ऐसी nations हैं जिनमें और 63 nations के अलावा European Union की काफ़ी countries हैं जो कि काफ़ी ज़्यादा fossil fuels पे dependent है, which use a lot of coal, petroleum, crude oil, natural gas, and which release a lot of pollution. So as you can see, the name indicates Climate Change Performance Index. So this index is talking about the efforts these countries, these 63 countries including European Union, ये जो countries हैं जो सबसे ज़्यादा polluting countries हैं पूरी दुनिया की, what are the efforts that these countries are making to control climate change? So that is basically to assess their climate change performance, and hence it is known as the Climate Change Performance Index. Again, I'm repeating that this is released by an NGO called German Watch. So don't get confused when you see this index in your prelims. Now, the good part is that India has improved its rank a lot. So India has been ranked at the 8th place इंडिया का जो रैंक है आउट ऑफ दीज 63 कंट्रीज, इट हैज़ कम एट द 8th place, and they say that India has improved a lot to bring its carbon emissions down or to control climate change. So now we have nationally determined contributions. जो हमारा पेरिस क्लाइमेट डील है उसके अकॉर्डिंग हर कंट्री को, हर पार्टिसिपेटिंग कंट्री को कुछ nationally determined contributions देने हैं. By 2030 some target was set by India that we will bring down our emissions to 30 to 35% and later 40-45% of GDP that was as compared to what was the emission levels in 2005. Also a lot of afforestation was planned. 175 gigawatt of electricity generation through non-fossil fuel based resources that was planned, and a lot of efforts have been carried out by the government of India. So this index, since it has given India a very high rank, so this has applauded India for its performance. They say that India is on track to meet its 2030 emission targets compatible with a well below 2 degrees Celsius scenario. प्री इंडस्ट्रियल लेवल के जो हमारे क्लाइमेट के लेवल्स थे, जो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग के लेवल्स थे, उससे 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस से नीचे तक हमने टेम्परेचर को कंट्रोल करके रखना है. वी हैव टू कंट्रोल द टेम्परेचर लेवल्स टू 2 degrees Celsius below pre-industrial levels, and India is on track to meet that target. So also we discussed in last week's current affairs discussion that India has updated its nationally determined contributions. The long-term contributions, long-term targets have been updated by India. So yes, India has announced a net zero, achieving a balance between greenhouse gases which are released into the atmosphere and a balance between the amount of gases that are absorbed from the atmosphere. So net zero का target India ने announce कर दिया है for 2070. For 2070 we have announced this target, and Indian government, the efforts of Indian government and all the other sectors, they are well in line with achieving the net zero target and bringing climate change to a halt. So yes, now what this is the website of CCPI, this is the website of this particular index. So they say that there are 3 countries, Chile, Morocco and India, which have consistently performed well in the CCPI and are closing in on leading countries. Which are the leading countries? Denmark and Sweden. Denmark and Sweden have been ranked 4 and 5. They say that out of all these 63 countries, in 63 countries में जितनी भी countries है, इनके efforts इतने ज़्यादा अच्छे नहीं हैं. Efforts of none of these countries are good enough to control global warming, to control climate change. So the special part about this index is that the first three ranks of this index, they are not given to anyone. किसी भी country को पहले 3 ranks नहीं दिए जाते, because they feel that no country in the world deserves any rank out of first 3. So जो ranking शुरू होती है वो ranking 4 से शुरू होती है, and at rank 4 and 5 you have Denmark and Sweden, and between rank 6 to 8 after that you have Chile, Morocco and India. India is at rank 8, which is a huge achievement for India. So also they've said that the largest emitters are China and United States of America. USA का rank 53 है, and China has gone down in its ranking, and almost 13 places का जो China का rank है वो drop down हो गया है. Again, you know, comparison with neighboring countries, especially the highest polluters, is very important for your exam. So China has dropped down 13 ranks, and its latest rank is 52, and 53rd rank is of United States of America. So these two are the biggest polluters of the world. What are the last ranks which have been occupied? Yes, the 63rd rank has been occupied by Iran, 62nd by Saudi Arabia, and 61st Kazakhstan. Last 3 countries. So these 3 are the highest polluters. Then you have US and China at 53 and 52. Good news for India because we've improved a lot, but that they say that the renewable energy pathway of India is not on track to the 2030 target. तो इसके लिए हमें बहुत ज़्यादा efforts करने हैं. Plus some of our efforts are decreasing the global warming and preventing climate change, while other efforts or other activities that are taken by the government or private sector, they are aiding global warming. So a balance has to be maintained. Index के भी आगे बहुत सारे parts होते हैं. At least 4 parts are there to this index. So those parts in intricacy, they are not very important for your exam. Just remembering the name of this index, who releases it, what is the ranking, what is the improvement, that is important for you. And don't forget to quote this index, the improvement that India has shown on this index, in your mains answers. Whenever you're writing answers for mains environment section, quote this index. Also आप अपने index की भी एक separate sheet maintain कीजिए. Have a separate sheet for data and a separate sheet for facts where you write about such reports, or you can put it in the data sheet also, that so that you can use it in your environment answers directly. Now moving on to the COP27 update. COP27 finally concluded on November 18, and the final document, they released a loss and damage fund for climate reparations. Now what is this loss and damage fund? See, last week also we discussed about COP27, Conference of Parties 27. तो अगर आपको clarity नहीं है कि United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change क्या है, what is Kyoto Protocol, what is Conference of Parties 27 that is being held on an annual basis. So I would recommend that go to the live tab on our YouTube channel, Raj Malhotra IAS Academy, जो हमारा YouTube channel है, उसमें आप live वाले tab पर जाइए. So in the live section, because these videos are going to you live, so in the live section you will see the previous videos also. Also we have a separate playlist for weekly current affairs, subject wise current affairs, so refer to the previous week's video, November 16th video, and things will get clear. That was the first topic that we took, so things will get clear. Here we are just starting what is the loss and damages fund for climate reparations that has been formed. Let's look at the headline first. So key questions about who will manage the loss and damages fund, who will contribute, and how much they will contribute have all been left to a transitional panel reporting to next year's COP28. See, so they this hand indicates pay for the damage you have done to the earth, and as you can see it signifies here pay for loss and damage. And 1.5 degrees Celsius target is there. 1.5 degrees Celsius target is there under the Paris Climate Accord, under the COP21. जो world का global warming का जो level है, that should not exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature as compared to the temperatures of pre-industrial levels. Also what they say is that the countries which are in the southern areas में है या जो low-lying areas में है, probably if there is an island country, for example let's take the example of Maldives or Vanuatu. So these countries, these are small island countries, अगर global warming का level बढ़ता है, sea levels will rise due to global warming, and these countries, these islands will get inundated. ये islands जो हैं ये डूब जाएंगे. So these are the people who belong to some countries which are most affected by climate change. And these small countries, यहाँ पर industries नहीं आई थी. These are not responsible for climate change. These are not the countries who had set up big industries and released so much pollution into the atmosphere that resulted in so much global warming. So their livelihood, their lives are at threat, not just livelihood but their lives, and where they have been staying for so long. We have so many climate refugees all over the world, and refugee problem is what we see all over the world in such high spirits. So these people, they had been protesting that the rich countries, which are developed countries now and which are still continuing to release a lot of pollution into the atmosphere, they should be paying to all the losses that have occurred to earth and to our lives and livelihoods. So this is pay for loss and damage, and to agree to their demands, to agree that yes, it is the responsibility of developed and highly polluting nations to give reparations to these countries which are at the risk of climate change, which famines occur on a regular basis in these countries, droughts occur, floods occur, and their land is getting inundated. So these people will get the benefits out of this fund, either in the form of insurance, grants, that has to be decided, as it is written here, that there will be a transitional panel. Transitional panel would be set up at COP28, that is next year, to decide that how the funds would be given and who will be contributing to the funds. So earlier also we had this $100 billion target, which was to be given by developed countries to the developing nations or to the low polluting nations which are at the receiving end of climate change. So earlier also we had this $100 billion target. Now a separate fund called loss and damage fund has been set up. Now there are some key features you need to focus about this loss and damage fund. Let's look at what are these key features. So the first feature is the location, Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt. This is where your COP27 was held. The planned monetary compensation under this fund is estimated to be nearly $500 billion and rising by $200 billion each year. Also, they say that it is a big win for poorer nations which have long called for funds, sometimes used as reparations, because they are often the victims of climate worsened floods, droughts, heat waves, famines and storms, despite having contributed little to the pollution that heats up the globe. So the fund would be largely aimed at the most vulnerable nations, as I told you, the island nations or the low-lying nations or poor nations which are at the receiving end of this climate change. So the question here is about contribution. Who will contribute to this fund? So the earlier जो initial contributions आएंगे, they will be from developed countries, yes for sure from developed countries, and other private and public sources such as international financial institutions, World Bank included. World Bank is already aiding many of the developing or very poor nations in their fight against climate change. So World Bank can be one of these, ADB can be one of these, Asian Development Bank. So while major emerging economies such as China would not initially be required to contribute, but there have been demands from China and India that they say that China and India are the biggest economies of the world. India is the biggest market of the world. So India and China should also be contributing to it. And they say that India is a country which is at the receiving end of climate change. We are seeing a change in the monsoon pattern. We see so many floods occurring on an yearly basis. The frequency and intensity of tropical cyclones has increased in our country. So they say that will India be receiving reparations from this fund, or will India be a donor? So as of now, India has taken a neutral stand that yes, whenever we have the capacity, we donate, we help our neighboring nations also whenever there are times of need. But as of now, we do not have any compulsions to donate to the fund. So yes, apart from this, COP27 also concluded with a 4-year work program on climate action in agriculture and food security and on a just transition for energy use. What we'll do is next week we'll take COP27 briefly. We'll cover everything that has been updated, because this discussion regarding COP27 has been happening on a weekly basis. We'll summarize it in next week's video, and you'll get the final notes there. Also, the PDF for this presentation, for this recording, the entire PPT that is running here, that is available on our Telegram channel. So refer to that PDF. You don't have to make notes side by side. Just download that and highlight and underline it according to your need. Alright, so the next news that we have for the day is launch or the testing launch of Vikrams Rocket. Vikrams Rocket launch highlights India's first private rocket blasted off successfully. So what are the details? See, Vikram S is a single stage rocket fuel meant to test most systems and processes in Skyroot Aerospace project ahead of the launch of Vikram 1 scheduled next year. Alright. So see, earlier what was happening till a few years back, only ISRO was sending their rockets to space, and if there was any other country or any other agency who had to launch their satellites in space, किसी भी और country को या किसी भी startup को अपनी satellite space में भेजनी होती थी, so they had to contact ISRO, they had to contact the commercial arm of ISRO, and ISRO का जब rocket ready होता था तभी satellites launch हो पाती थी. But we've seen how well SpaceX has done in the United States of America. A lot of other private sector agencies are coming up in the space sector. बहुत सारे ऐसे startups हैं जो कि अपने छोटे rockets बनाते हैं और छोटी-छोटी satellites को launch कर सकते हैं. So they say that this space sector or launching of satellites into space, ये एक बहुत बड़ा market है जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा profits gain किए जा सकते हैं, but this is very untapped. Also, as you know that ISRO has launched a lot of successful missions starting from 1962 1992 when your INCOSPAR was created, Indian National Committee on Space Research, under the chairmanship of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. He is known as the father of India space mission. उन्हीं के नाम पर ये जो प्राइवेट एजेंसी है स्काईरूट एरोस्पेस इसका नाम है, इन्होंने विक्रम एस रॉकेट डॉक्टर विक्रम साराभाई के नाम पर ही रखा है. So they say that entry of private sector into space. For example, if we allow some companies or startups to make their own rockets and they can launch satellites for other countries or other companies for a commercial basis, then a lot of employment can be generated. We can see a lot of boost in our GDP and whatnot. India is one of the 5 top most spacefaring nations of the world. What is it that India has not done? We are launching a mission to the sun. We have our astronomical telescopes in space. AstroSat is already there. ExpoSat is coming in the next few years. We are already working on Gaganyaan. Chandrayaan has been completed successfully. Mangalyaan has been so successful. So India is one of the top 5 countries who have technical capabilities in the space sector. So it becomes very important for us to let our private agencies get into the space sector and launch their own missions. So last week we discussed about the Agnikul Cosmos. उन्होंने अपना engine का एक part, one of the rockets has been developed using 3D printing. So what is 3D printing? If you're not aware, refer to the previous week's video for science and tech and environment. दिस टाइम विक्रम एस इसका जो लॉन्च था इस रॉकेट का कुछ टाइम पहले प्लान था, बट ड्यू टू abnormal weather it was delayed. So last week this launch was carried out. This is just a single staged rocket. Again I'm telling it to you again and again. आपका जो rocket होता है ऐसा ही दिखता है जैसे आपके toy rockets दिखते हैं. Here your payload is placed. Payload या satellite or spaceship, whatever you want to launch into space, here it is placed. ये जो आपका part है, this consists of fuel and engines. So in the Vikram S rocket, it is just a single stage rocket, means only one type of fuel and one engine has been used, and that is your solid fuel in the Vikram S rocket. जो subsequent Vikram rockets होंगे जो कि Skyroot Aerospace develop करेगा, they will be using cryogenic technology also. Your cryogenic technology uses oxygen that is converted into a liquid form at a very low temperature and hydrogen as fuel, which is again converted into liquid for better storage at a very low temperature, which is known as cryogenic temperatures. बहुत ही कम temperatures को हम लोग cryogenic temperatures बोलते हैं. So right now what they have done is they've launched the Vikram S rocket into a suborbital flight. Suborbital flight में इन्होंने it took off its first flight from the ISRO's Sriharikota spaceport. There are a very few areas from which rockets are launched. We launch rockets from Thumba, we launch rockets from Sriharikota. Missile testing हमारी Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island से होती है. That is off the coast of Odisha. Again, we are coming up with a new rocket launching site that is in Tamil Nadu. Again, that has been taken in the previous discussions. The mission has been named Prarambh, the beginning. So you can in a way call it the beginning of the entry of private sector into space. Just imagine, agencies like Skyroot Aerospace coming up and launching having their own rockets. Right now what they have developed is SSLV, स्मॉल सैटेलाइट लॉन्च व्हीकल, जो कि बहुत ही हल्की सैटेलाइट्स को स्पेस में ले जाकर ऑर्बिट में छोड़ पाएगा, ऑर्बिट में रिलीज कर पाएगा. सो SSLV हैज़ बीन डेवलप्ड. इसरो का भी अपने पास एक SSLV है, स्मॉल सैटेलाइट लॉन्च व्हीकल, दैट कैन बी assembled in just 1 week. So for that purpose, for launching satellites of up to 500 kg, ISRO has its own SSLV. But now this Skyroot Aerospace have developed their own SSLV, and Vikram S was the first part of it. They have tested it successfully. Now they've launched it successfully. In the upcoming missions, Vikram 1, Vikram 2, Vikram 3, they plan to develop 3 rockets and to launch a lot of satellites, to at least 2 Indian satellites and 1 foreign satellites, including the one by Space Kids India called FunSat, parts of which were developed by school students. So that is very important here, that school students are developing their own satellites. Right now, again, factual information might not be very important, but conceptual is. एक सब ऑर्बिटल स्पेस फ्लाइट में गया है विक्रम एस रॉकेट. व्हाट इज योर सब ऑर्बिटल स्पेस फ्लाइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपको अगर इस हाइट तक जाना है, दिस इज योर हाइट 1, दिस इज योर हाइट 2. इफ यू गो टिल हाइट 1, you take your rocket till height 1, the gravity here might be so strong कि rocket आपका वापस गिर जाए. But if you go till height 2, obviously gravity would be lesser at this height. So sometimes whatever reaches at height 2, it actually enters into a orbit around the earth. So what it has done is, आपका जो ये height 1 तक rocket गया है, so that is a suborbital flight. Suborbital flight means here at height 1 it is just touching the Kármán line. Kármán line is where your space begins and atmosphere ends. That is at the height of 100 kilometers. So almost at the Kármán line को touch करके in a suborbital flight, that it will not enter the orbit. Obviously हमने rockets को orbit में enter नहीं करवाना होता है, हमने satellites को या spaceships को orbit में enter करवाना होता है, because वहाँ पर हमारी functioning होती है. So Vikram S will not enter the orbit. It has taken a suborbital space flight. I hope suborbital space flight is clear to you. That's something that is below the height to enter into orbit around the earth. So yes, again, what is the significance of this launch? एक private agency के एक small satellite launch vehicle को develop करने का क्या significance है? So as you can see that performance of Vikram S and its engine Kalam 80 will help test and validate technologies in the Vikram space launch vehicles, जो इनके Vikram series space launch vehicles जो कि आने वाले time में launch करने वाले हैं to launch actual satellites. So it will help in understanding and learning the lessons. The company is designing 3 Vikram rockets that will use various solid and cryogenic fuels. आपकी जो सॉलिड फ्यूल्स होते हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा थ्रस्ट दे देते हैं. फर्स्ट स्टेज में ऑलवेज सॉलिड फ्यूल्स आर यूज्ड, और or solid fuels with cryogenic oxidizer can be used, as ISRO has tested recently. Hybrid fuel use कर सकते हैं, but in the first stage we mostly use solid fuels, and their core structure built using carbon composites. Carbon composites, this can be studied under nanotech. Again, nanotech has been taken in the previous weekly current affairs discussions. The thrusters used for spin stability in the vehicle have been 3D printed. So 3D printing has been in news. Again, this topic becomes very important for your prelims and mains both. The entry of private players in the space sector in India, with more private sector missions coming soon. We talked about Agnikul Cosmos, private sector. They say that almost 100 startups have registered with InSpace or the NSIL. InSpace is the regulating arm of private sector in the private companies in the space sector. So they say that almost 100 startups in the space sector have registered with ISRO. So this is a huge boost to our economy and to the employment that our country is about to see. India's space sector, as I told you, that we are amongst the top 5 spacefaring nations of the world. Do not forget the name of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, because again, for your mains point of view, scientists are very important. Scientists who have made big contributions to this, to the development of science and technology in India. So Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, they are very important. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai is the father of India's space program. Now the next topic that we have is the Artemis 1 mission. See, Artemis missions जो हैं, एक 3 missions हैं NASA के. What they are planning is, after the Apollo mission, NASA did not really land on moon. NASA moon पर landing नहीं कर पाया है Apollo missions के बाद, when it sent its astronauts on moon and they landed and they brought a lot of observations and experiment and a lot of discoveries from that mission. So what they are planning is that to return human beings, that is to take again human beings to the moon, because NASA has already done it, so they are using the word return, to take human beings to moon, specifically the lunar south pole, by 2025. So moon is basically, it does not have a tilt. जिसको polar areas होते हैं moon के, the polar areas of moon, they do not receive sunlight. For example, if your sun is here somewhere and between तो जो polar areas होते हैं वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा slanting lights जाती हैं. So in polar areas of moon, especially the south pole, a lot of sunlight is not received. So जो यहाँ पर snow है, that is millions of years old. तो जो millions of years old पहले जो chemical composition था moon का या solar system का, that could be stored here. So what they are planning is, they are planning to send human beings to the south pole of moon, so that a lot of observations and experiments can be carried out. Also, just remember that this is just first part of the Artemis mission, Artemis 1 mission. In the future what it wants to do is take human beings into space. अब human beings को अगर space में लेकर जाना है, they cannot send human beings directly into space. So first of all, a testing module or a testing mission has been sent, that is known as the Artemis 1 mission. In the subsequent missions, in the Artemis 2 and Artemis 3, a woman astronaut would be sent, a man of color would be sent, astronaut that would not be of white origin. So more astronauts would be sent in the future Artemis missions, but this is just for experimentation. Again, SLS rocket of NASA, or they've taken it from SpaceX. SLS rocket is the strongest rocket that they have as a country that has been used, and this is there is some spacecraft called Orion. देखिए, अगर कोई भी चीज़ ऑर्बिट में आ जाती है किसी प्लैनेट के या सैटेलाइट के, किसी प्लैनेट के या उसकी नेचुरल सैटेलाइट के या मून के, then that thing orbiting the planet is known as a satellite. If that satellite is not orbiting, it is just traveling into space, then it is known as a spacecraft. So Orion spacecraft है and SLS rocket है. So this is something that you have to remember. Artemis 1 mission has not taken human beings into space. What we'll do is stepwise, let's see what is happening here. From the Kennedy Space Center, Florida, जो space centers होते हैं from where rockets are launched, they are always on the ईस्टर्न कोस्ट, क्योंकि आपकी जो अर्थ है वो यहाँ से यहाँ वेस्ट टू ईस्ट रोटेट करती है. सो व्हेन अ रॉकेट इज लॉन्च फ्रॉम हियर, द रोटेशन और द कोरियोलिस फोर्स ऑफ अर्थ एक्चुअली पुशेस इट फर्दर. अगर आप इधर से रॉकेट लॉन्च करेंगे, सो बेसिकली यू विल बी लॉन्चिंग इट इनटू स्पेस, बट इट विल बी गोइंग समवेयर एल्स बिकॉज अर्थ की ऑपोजिट रोटेशन में होगा. ऑल्सो दे आर ऑलवेज प्लेस नियर सी एरियाज, वाटर बॉडीज के आसपास प्लेस किए जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ द रॉकेट फेल्स, सो इट लैंड्स इनटू द सी, इट डज नॉट लैंड इनटू सम लैंड बॉडी या कोई भी ह्यूमन हैबिटेशन को खराब नहीं करना चाहिए. सो इन द फर्स्ट केस, uncrewed flight launches from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Then you have from here you've launched this uncrewed mission. From here your Orion spacecraft, आपका जो Orion spacecraft है, that will separate from the rest of the rocket system. Orion spacecraft will separate, and in the third step here, Orion is setting itself on its way to moon using a lot of transfer orbits. Transfer orbits हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं जो सैटेलाइट्स को या स्पेसक्राफ्ट्स को या स्पेसशिप्स को बड़े ऑर्बिट्स में डालने के लिए. सो ओरियन इज सेट ऑन इट्स कोर्स टू द मून, एंड आफ्टर सम टाइम, आफ्टर अ फ्यू स्टेप्स, इट विल स्टार्ट orbiting around the moon, and again it will in the step 5 it will also have to come back to earth. The special part here about Orion is कि जो moon की rotation है around the earth, it is taking the opposite direction to carry out observations around the moon. So it is carrying out in the opposite direction, and after a lot of revolutions for a few days, this will come back to earth to land in the पैसिफिक ओशियन. पैसिफिक ओशियन में क्यों लैंड करवा रहे हैं? वाटर बॉडी में अगर लैंडिंग होती है, सो क्रैश लैंडिंग के जो चांसेस होते हैं वो अवॉइड किए जा सकते हैं. सो लैंडिंग विल हैपन हियर इन द पैसिफिक ओशियन इन द 7th स्टेज. नाउ वट एवर ऑब्जर्वेशंस विल बी कैरिड आउट इन ऑल दीज स्टेजेस, जो भी डिस्कवरीज, जो भी एक्सपेरिमेंटल फॉल्स देखे जाएंगे, वो नेक्स्ट आर्टेमिस मिशन में, आर्टेमिस 2 एंड आर्टेमिस 3 में यूज़ किए जाएंगे. एंड ऑल दोज लर्निंग्स विल बी taken into consideration to avoid any kind of loss and damage when actual human beings are sent into space. So again, Orion spacecraft is important. In the Artemis 2 mission, it will take off around in 2024. The third Artemis mission involving the Orion spacecraft as well as SpaceX vehicle will aim to land astronauts on the moon surface. जो आपका third Artemis mission होगा, that will plan to land astronauts on the moon surface. The second Artemis mission है, it will just help them orbit around the moon and bring them back to Earth. So in the third final Artemis mission, जो कि I think 2025 के आसपास planned है, again that will get delayed for sure. Weather conditions होते हैं, technical capabilities develop नहीं होती हैं. So they will land people on moon. At least 3 people will land on the moon. Now see why is moon important? Why is Artemis mission has been studied, but why is moon important? हम लोग चंद्रयान लॉन्च कर रहे हैं. China is launching this Chang'e 4 mission or Chang'e mission. So जापान के बहुत सारे मून मिशंस हैं. USA is launching Artemis, India has launched Chandrayaan, we are planning Chandrayaan 3 also. But why are we going to the moon again and again? हमें moon में इतना interest क्यों है? So first of all, to understand, moon is the only natural satellite of Earth and moon की अपनी कोई satellite नहीं है. So here you have the Earth, the moon is orbiting around the Earth in a specifically defined orbit. So unlike the Earth, the moon does not have a tilt. As I told you that जैसे कि Earth का tilt है, moon does not have a tilt. It is very straight. तो जिसके polar areas हैं, they do not receive a lot of sunlight. So snow is here, ice is here, a lot of ice caps are there, and they contained the secrets of the mysteries of universe. कि universe में जो जब moon बन रहा था, उस time पे जो जो chemical composition थी, they are still saved inside these ice sheets, and carrying out research on them will tell us how the solar system evolved. So it is basically a geological time capsule बोलते हैं इसको. It is kind of a geological time capsule. Yes. Also they say that the boot prints of Apollo astronauts who walked on the moon are still there and they can be seen from the orbit. जो अपोलो के एस्ट्रोनॉट्स थे जिन्होंने मून पर लैंड किया था, उनके बूट प्रिंट्स अभी भी वैसे के वैसे हैं, बिकॉज द मून डज नॉट हैव एन एटमोसफेयर. सो सिंस द मून डज नॉट हैव एन एटमोसफेयर, तो जो कंडीशंस पहले थी वही कंडीशंस अब भी हैं. सो कैरिंग आउट रिसर्च ऑन द मून विल टेल यू अबाउट अगेन द मिस्ट्रीज ऑफ यूनिवर्स. एंड मून ज़्यादा चेंज नहीं हुआ है बिकॉज अर्थ हैज़ विंड, वाटर एंड अदर फैक्टर्स ऑफ इरोजन, बट मून डज नॉट हैव दैट. तो मून पर ज़्यादा चेंजेस नहीं होते. सो इफ़ यू आर कैरिंग research on moon, you're basically tapping into history. Also with the help of various technical experiments that we've carried out on moon, with the help of experiments of ISRO and NASA, water has been found on moon. So we do not know water, how much in liquid form is available, how much is it in frozen form, but yes, moon cannot be our next home. Human beings cannot expect to stay on the moon क्योंकि वहाँ पर atmosphere नहीं है. There is just exosphere, very thin atmosphere, जिसको हम exosphere बोलते हैं. So the environment around is not breathable. But again, a lot of minerals, a lot of water could be found which could help understand our origin of our life as human beings, as living creatures. Secondly, it could help us and aid us in our in how we live in the times to come. So that is the importance of moon. Again, the PDF can be downloaded from the Telegram channel that is there in the description below. Click on the link in the description, it will take you to our Telegram channel, and download the PDF from there for this lecture. Try to attempt the question for Seize the Mains today. It is about moon. The entire content is available in the PDF, so you'll not have to go here and there searching for what you have to write. So yes, I'll see you with another discussion next week for our weekly current affairs session, and today at 9 PM in Seize the Mains, where we discuss the question that I gave you at the starting of this discussion. Again, this has been fruitful. It has been a learning experience for us as well, and we hope that this initiative is helping you. Stay tuned to our channel. If there are any doubts, let us know in the comment section. Not in the live chat section for now, but in the comment section, and our team will respond back to your doubts and discussions, whatever are they. Or also you can call us at the number for the administrative staff that is given in the description, or email us at the email ID provided. I'll see you next week with another discussion. Till then, keep working hard and all the best.